Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And as you can see here, I am showing you my amaranth and how it's coming along. This is my second year growing amaranth. Not growing as much as I would have liked, but next year I'm planning on growing a whole bunch more now that I can see where it really likes it garden-wise. So this little section here, if you've been following me for a little while, you'll know that I had potatoes planted here. This is just this little small area I use to put extra seed potatoes after I fill up my other potato areas. And so what I did after I dug up the potatoes this year is I transplanted some of my young amaranth seedlings plus a few other things, as you can see down there. Some ground cherries and some popolo is kind of hidden in there, and a couple of ashwagandha plants that are really got covered up by the ground cherries and the amaranth, but they're down there and they're actually not doing too bad considering how well they're shaded. And then some borage that just came up on its own, because borage will keep reseeding itself and growing throughout the season. So this is all stuff that reseeded itself earlier in the season and then it's come up. I wanted you to be able to see just how big the flowers are getting. This is the Love Lies Bleeding Amaranth, and the first seed I got, I hadn't actually intended on growing amaranth, but it was one of those free seed packets I got from Baker Creek. I think it was from my very first order I did from them too. And so I just kind of planted them like, well, these are pretty, and didn't know a lot about amaranth at the time. And I just fell in love with it, and had since learned that one thing about amaranth is growing it in your garden is extremely beneficial, because it's just been like dandelion and certain other plants. It's really good at helping to feed the plants around it. But it does, especially here, it really doesn't start to look like this until very, very late in the season. So we're end of September right now, and this is what it looks like. Now, I think the first year that I grew it, it looked like this more like at the end of August, but that's not surprising because everything got a pretty late start this year. I do plan on getting to a point where I'm growing enough of the seed that I can start grinding it into flour, probably just right along with my wheat berries or separately, I don't know yet, more for the sake of adding the health benefits. But anyway, today I'm not talking about the seed. I'm going to be talking about the leaves, because what a lot may not realize is the leaves themselves pack all kinds of wonderful health benefits, and indeed are edible and can be used in, I've used them in salads, I've cooked with them a little bit in stir fries, but mostly what I'm doing with them this year, which I didn't do the very first year, is to dehydrate them and add them to my mixed greens blend so we can have them in all kinds of meals all throughout the year. And so I'll be harvesting on this today, and that's why I wanted to get out here early and get this video done so that you can at least see what it looks like before I harvest too many more leaves off there, because I've been pulling leaves off there here and there throughout, so it's not even as full as it was. And these are my biggest amaranths. I can show you a couple of my others, but clearly this is where they're happiest, and I know what I'm going to do next year. This is the south side of the garden, so as you can see, they're just loving the south end. I went ahead and wrote down some benefits and the nutrients that are contained in the amaranth leaves, and so maybe you'll consider planting these this next year and growing them for both the seed and the health benefits of the leaves. So reading off the nutrients, they are high in vitamin K, A, B6, riboflavin, folate, C, manganese, iron, copper, calcium, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, and they're high in protein. So this can be a really good choice for vegans. And another interesting thing that I learned is that when it comes to a vegan diet, the amaranth leaf is going to be your best choice for a source of amino acids, because they're 30% higher than your other plant-based sources of amino acids. So that's something to consider. We're not vegans here, but I've done the vegan thing before, but I do like knowing these facts, because there could be a time there we're not getting a lot of meat or a lot of dairy, and we may need other sources for the kind of nutrients that you typically we think that we find in meats, like, you know, your proteins, amino acids, and B vitamins and the like. So we know that the amaranth has a lot of B's, protein, and amino acids. So that's really great. So now some health benefits and things that the amaranth leaves will help with is they're energy boosting. They help with your digestion, which, as we know in this day and age, this is really important. They help people with iron deficient anemia. Now, that's not, I'm anemic, but not from iron deficiency, but because of too much iron. But however, since this is a plant-based, I don't worry about getting a little bit of iron through the plant-based or even through cast iron cooking. I just don't have issues as long as it's really natural in the way I'm getting it. So it also helps to lower blood pressure, prevent heart disease, fights cancer, helps with diarrhea, and I love this next one, helps stop hair loss and a premature graying. Also helps with eyesight and with weight loss. So, you know, you really, and look how beautiful it is. I mean, come on. You mean, if you grew it for nothing more than its beauty, that alone is worth it. I just love it. These big chenille type flowers. I mean, look how thick these things are and long. They're just getting so huge. And this is the way they got a couple of years ago. But, I mean, they're just beautiful. So if you are growing it already just for its beauty, there's so much more to this plant than that. You've got the leaves and you've got the seed, and it just a really wonderful plant. I'm not planning on selling any amaranth seed this year because I'm going to be using a good amount of the seed that I save to try out in my breads, and then the rest to save for planting next year. However, if I get a good crop next year, I will consider selling some seed. So that is really it on the amaranth that I wanted to share today. But since I'm out here, I wanted to show you one more thing. I've been harvesting a crud load of beans, by the way, for saving for dry bean. I still have a whole bunch more to get out here and pick. I'm getting them a little early. I know the best way is to let them dry on the vines in most places, but not here, because even though it's sunny today, our rains have already returned, and if you leave the stuff on there, it will mold. So I have a big laundry basket full, and I'll insert a picture right here of that. All right, so over here on my bean and squash trellis, I've got my sweet potato squash just growing like crazy as far as the plant, but I still at this point only have one female. But I'll be happy if I can get this one female to come to maturity so that we can try it and see if we even like this. Then I can decide whether or not I want to try growing it next year. I'm really pleased with the plant, but it got a very, very, very late start. So I'm thinking that's probably going to be the only squash I get out of it. I still have a lot of beans on here to pick as well. My spaghetti squash, though I'm not getting as many as I thought I would, aren't doing too bad. This was the first one I showed you a while back, and I thought, it's okay. Well, this one that came in much later is already much bigger than that, and there's a lot more that size. But these aren't the real good ones. Let me show you the real good ones I've got. This one here, I mean, look, this thing is so heavy. It amazes me these plants are strong enough to hold such a heavy fruit. But look at this thing, is beautiful. And then right up here, laying on top of the cattle panel, is another good size one. And then there's a couple more smaller ones here and there, but I'm just so excited. So at least I'll get a few of my own spaghetti squash this year. And I'll definitely, it's my first year growing it, and it seems to really be liking this cattle panel. So I'll definitely be growing more next year. But the difference is I'm going to direct seed. I think trying to start it in the greenhouse and then plant it out was part of what slowed everything down. So I'm just going to direct seed it and let it grow on its own, because the stuff that I direct seeded seemed to do better. And while I'm out here, I'll show you what my glass gem corn is looking like. Some of these look pretty small, and it could be because I have them too tight together. Just like a lot of things I'm still really green when it comes to learning how to thin things, because I always get afraid of thinning too much or thinning the wrong things. I got to see what's going to grow healthy. But if this corn is going to do, if it looks like I get some real nice corn off of here, then next year I'll definitely make sure to spread them out more. I just have such limited space. However, I know some of the things I won't be growing, and I'll be using, instead of just having this small section here, I'll be bringing it out farther to over here, and maybe fill up, you know, 2/3 of this section here with just the corn, and then have them spread out a little farther. So hopefully I can get some bigger corn. But I don't know, I don't think the glass gem gets really big anyway. So, okay. Now, I'll finish out this video with a little more on the amaranth, just showing you the smaller plant right here. So you can see the difference between the flowers here, growing here in the middle of the garden at this time of the year where it's not getting as much light. Here's another one that's a little bigger, but still nothing compared to these ones over here. So when you go to plant your amaranth, you know, going with the south side, the most southerly part of your garden with the most amount of sun is going to be the best choice. I think this one here might be the longest. So I'll be planting my amaranth, most of it next year, at the front of the house, because that is the south side of our house. I have a place picked out for it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of harvest I'll get from it next year. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video on the amaranth, plus a little bit of a garden update. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.